All right, so this is Rune's request, Amanda's request for the month, and this is Self Esteem. I do this all the time, live on Later. And before we start, I just want to read what Amanda sent to me. It's something else from the usual reactions on the channel. The lyrics are important in this one. It makes me emotional, but they're empowering at the same time. Beautiful. I mean, I think the theme of this month's patron reactions is definitely self-empowerment, and I'm really looking forward to experiencing this framing of that idea. So let's hit it.
Look up, limber, be strong. You didn't think you'd live this long. Be as one. Hold on, steady stand. For as long as you think you can. Old habits die for a couple of weeks, and then I start doing them again. This sun is making me feel like I'm missing out on something, but if I went to your barbecue, I'd feel uncomfortable and not be sure what to say anyway. It's like when I go to your birthday drinks to congratulate you being the age I already thought you were, or not, I don't know. It's a miracle I remembered at all. When I'm buried in the ground, I won't be able to make your birthday drinks, but I will still feel guilty. You see, when the air warms up like this, it brings every single memory of you back, and it makes me so sick I can't breathe. Except I'm still breathing, aren't I? Sometimes I think that's the problem. So look up, lean back, be strong. You didn't think you'd live this long. Be as one. Hold on, steady stand. For as long as you think you can. Be very careful out there. Stop trying to have so many friends. Don't be intimidated by all the babies they have. Don't be embarrassed that all you've had is fun. Prioritize pleasure. Don't send those long paragraph texts. Stop it. Don't. Getting married isn't the biggest day of your life. All the days that you get to have are big. Be wary of the favors that they do for you. Time, so look up, lean back, be strong. You didn't think you'd live this long. Be as one. Hold on, steady stand. For as long as you think you can. All you need to do, darling, is fit in that little dress of yours. If you weren't doing this, you'd be working in McDonald's, so try and cheer up. I'm not sure. You're moving around too much, you need to stand still. Be more like Mairead. Stop showing off. You're a good girl. You're a good tall girl. You're a good sturdy girl. One day, I would love to tell you how the best night of your life was the absolute worst of mine. So look up, lean back, be strong. You didn't think you'd live this long. Be as one. Hold on, steady stand. For as long as you think you can. darkness and you were asleep, and I wasn't checking my phone for a moment, and I felt.
No, go back. That's it? Oh my gosh, man. Rune. Oh my gosh. You find the most touching music. Because, like, this is absolutely stellar. I'm doing I'm in 3 Mozart operas right now. Mozart from the 1700s. And a huge portion of Mozart's music is recitative, especially in the Italian versions. In the German Mozart operas, there is so much spoken text between the lines. This was like the start of what we know as like spoken word or rap in music, right? And this was back in like the 1780s, 1790s, 1770s. That, you know, back in the 18th century. And let me just show you an example of, you know, what I'm talking about here. Because in these early operas, you know, this is my tangent because this is what I do. But we'll get back into this specifically after. In my operas, what we do is, you know, in my operas, the ones I'm doing, the Mozart operas that I'm part of the performance, we are doing a lot of singing in the big scenes. But with that singing, not much drama happens on the stage. The singing is all about the feeling of the piece, the feeling of what's happening. It's the recitative, the more conversational, more spoken portions that includes the actual dramatic arc, the actual tangible information, the exposition of the story, right? And in a lot of things, in a lot of pieces, you see stuff like this, where it's, let's see if I can get it without the glare. But basically, it's a lot of just like chords, and then very simple, basic melodies. And you're actually told to not follow the melody in this kind of music. Your job in this case is actually to create music out of the feeling of the language, because that's the way that it's most effectively given to the audience. One more example, I was doing a modern opera the other day, and I was performing in the lead role, and the beginning and end of this opera are just a monologue. But the monologue is set to rhythm, and this is what it looks like on the page. This is my score that I was just working on. If you look really close, I don't know how much we can focus, but the notes don't have note heads on them. The notes are just the staves, just to give the rhythm. And this piece was written in 1987, and this, you know, we were just given rhythms for the text, rhythms for the language. But as the performer, I was given liberty to create language. And this is the first thing I thought of when she dropped into these really lovely spoken portions. Everything is so rhythmically metric. Now, if I, for example, am to read the first 2 lines of this monologue, neurology's favorite term is deficit. The word denotes impairment or incapacity of neurological function. Now, that's written exactly as... that's read exactly as it's written in the music by rhythm, right? And so what she's doing is turning language into incredibly approximate rhythm without losing the actual sound of the language, right? So it sounds like she's just speaking, but it lines up perfectly with the music. So it's part of the composition, that natural speaking language. So let's give it another listen, and we'll just stop and start and talk about some more detailed things.
Look up, limber, be strong. You didn't think you'd live this long. Be as one. Hold on, steady stand. For as long as you think you can. Old habits die.
I mean, her singing technique is absolutely stellar. Look how relaxed her body is. It's utilizing everything excellent about the resonators to keep it forward, very clear, very powerful. It's a full-bodied sound. It's she's using, they're not wide nor are they tall speaking vowels. It's very much a conversational shape. I think British English is probably one of the most efficient languages acoustically, efficient accents rather to sing in, and so yeah, so just, it's absolutely stellar what she's doing. I mean, you can see by how relaxed her body is that her ability to create the sound is really just a use of the language's natural acoustic in a beautiful way, and it's the kind of sound that over that simple like beat and I guess some chords, it turns your head. It makes you turn your head into with such a brassy timbre to the sound. It's lovely, right? But there's nothing pretentious about it either.
For a couple of weeks and then I start doing them again. This sun is making me feel like I'm missing out on something, but if I went to your barbecue, I'd feel uncomfortable and not be sure what to say anyway.
Not be sure what to say anyway. It's like, there's such a, for someone who has to like, I have to read rhythm off of a page so often that when I hear it, it's like, okay, this is what it looks like in the music. And it's like eighth, eighth, triplet, eighth, 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 triplet, eighth, 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 da 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 da. There's like a very clear rhythmicness to this, and I'm so curious. It's like any type of like publicly spoken word. I'm really curious as to how it was composed, how it was written, and what kind of format that she brought this together. It's so awesome. And listen to how the words line up with each downbeat, like each start of a new the start of a new phrase, the start of a new meter. Listen to what happens, like because she syncs up so well with the beat, even though there's no like melody to what she's doing. It's just music without pitch, essentially, though her voice has natural pitch to it.
It's like when I go to your birthday drinks to congratulate you being the age I already thought you were, or not, I don't know. It's a miracle I remember at all. When I'm buried in the ground, I won't be able to make your birthday drinks, but I will still feel guilty. You see, when the air warms up like this, it brings every single memory of you back, and it makes me so sick I can't breathe. Except I'm still breathing, aren't I? Sometimes I think that's the problem. So look up, lean back, be strong. You didn't think you'd live this long, be as one. Hold on, steady stand, for as long as you think you can. Be very careful out there. Stop trying to have so many friends. Don't be intimidated by all the babies they have. Don't be embarrassed that all you've had is fun.
One really cool thing about this style of performing is that the message is always so much more clear. And she's being an actor, right? You're a stage actor when you're reciting this monologue. Despite the rhythm given in the song, the message can be made so much more clear because it's emotionless. It's the melody line that is the spoken rhythm, though it's not a traditional melody. It is emotionless. The emotion comes in the backing music. We continue to feel the beat. We continue to feel all the chords behind her, but she's presenting it like she's just speaking to you. That's the beauty of. That's why people go to theater, live theater, because you can be in the same room as someone. You can experience that, and that's why speaking does such a better job. And this type of, in the 18th century, you call it recitative. You call it a rhythmic monologue in contemporary classical music. You call it rap. You call it spoken word. There's so many different ways of calling. Sprechstimme is then another version that was popularized or actually coined in the early 20th century. In like the 1920s, that was a term that was talking about conversational speech-like singing, and that was in German composers, specifically Schoenberg. But the point of it is to actually take away the whimsy of a musical melody and put a microscope over the actual words that are being said, on what they actually mean, and it gives the artist a chance to tell a story through text. Even though she's an amazing singer, there is a greater effectiveness in the meaning of the words when they're spoken. You take apart one of the eccentricities, which is the actual pitched melody. And I couldn't help but just be captivated. The way they frame it, the way she's just looking directly at the camera, it's incredibly captivating because all you're getting is that message. And the energy that she's exhibiting as an actor in that moment is what you're receiving. Not to mention just the tone of the music underneath it giving you an amazing sensation that accompanies that emotion. Check it out.
Oh, you didn't think you'd live this long, be as one. Hold on, steady stand, for as long as you think you can. Be very careful out there. Stop trying to have so many friends. Don't be intimidated by all the babies they have. Don't be embarrassed that all you've had is fun.
That little face, you know, like you've had fun, that's fine, and she tells you that. There's so many. The beauty of this kind of delivery is also there's so many possibilities. The interpretation is vast. You're not subject to the feeling of the musical line. You're creating music in your emotions as you deliver it. Oh man, self-esteem is so hard, guys. For those of you who are musicians or who've spent a large amount of your time doing something that's maybe non-traditional, right? She's talking about comparing yourself to others, and when you do something untraditional, like I travel all the time. I'm away from my girlfriend for weeks at a time, just so that I can perform and do that as my kind of life. You know, I make a living and spend my time doing this, and it's so non-traditional, and it's hard to express that to people who don't have something like that. And I'm so incredibly lucky that I get to share it with you guys. But on top of that, you know, when you talk about people who you grew up with or, you know, relatively distant family members, you're always comparing yourself to others. And it's like, well, they have these milestones in their life that I don't have because of the choices I've made. And it's taken a while to not feel regrets about that, because there's always some part of me that's like, shouldn't you just like have a family and get a job that, you know, with a consistent paycheck that you can just rely on, that kind of thing? But the answer is usually no, right? The answer is usually no. It's hard. But the delivery in this song makes it feel better to just live life the way you want to. And that's the core of self-esteem as an idea. Living life the way you want to.
Prioritize pleasure. Don't send those long paragraph texts. Stop it. Don't.
Stop it. Don't. I agree.
Getting married isn't the biggest day of your life. All the days that you get to have are big. Be wary of the favors that they do for you.
Her speech is so rhythmic, but it still sounds like she's just having a conversation with you. Yeah, also don't text your exes a lot. Like, don't send paragraph texts. There's no point. If people don't get you, they don't get you. And I think that's okay.
I do this all the time. I do this all the time. So look up, lean back, be strong. You didn't think you'd live this long. Be as one. Hold on, steady stand.
Shout out to the background singers. They're
For as long
crushing.
as you think you can. All you need to do, darling, is fit in that little dress of yours. If you weren't doing this, you'd be working in McDonald's. So try and cheer up. I'm not sure. You're moving
Excuse me. I will wear whatever size dress I want, and so will you.
around too much. You need to stand still. Be more like Mairead. Stop showing off. You're a good girl. You're a good tall girl. You're a good sturdy girl.
The way she said that made it sound so personal. It's because it's like we're not all that way, but these are obviously things she has been told in her life. And, you know, after, it's like she, in the song, she primes you to have this resilience. And then she replicates this scenario that she's probably faced in her life and kind of subjects you to it. But because you've been primed and kind of built up by being told not to worry, don't compare yourself, don't be desperate, then she puts you in this place where you're then able to fight off that scenario, right? She replicates this difficulty that she's faced, and she subjects you to it, and it simulates this growth experience just in a song. How amazing is music that you can sit here for, how long is this song? It's 4.5 minutes, and you can get like a whole life experience if you're really intentional about it, right? Oh, that's awesome.
One day, I would love to tell you how the best night of your life was the absolute worst of mine.
There's a lot to read into there, and I think I'm just going to let you read into it yourself. Because it's, yeah, that's like a deep thing. The best night of your life was the worst of mine. Relationships are hard, and meeting people and engaging with people and when getting intimate with people is difficult. And I think the biggest thing we can take away from that lesson that she's showing us is that communication is incredibly vital no matter what's happening, and consent is incredibly vital. So communication always leads to the understanding of consent. But when communication is lacking in an individual or in two individuals, then the lines become skewed, and there's no excuse for a lack of communication in this day and age, I believe. In an era where communication is heightened more than it's ever been in history, and we as individuals have the capability of communicating more than ever, there's no excuse for improper communication and a lack of consent in scenarios that require two people. I'm just going to leave it at that. Hello.
Lean back, be strong. You didn't think you'd live this long. Be as one. Hold on, steady stand. For as long as you think you can.
I'm happy she.
I'll take care. I'll breathe again. I'll sing again. I will. I'll take care. I'll breathe again. I'll sing again. I will. We laid that in the.
I like that her singing is, she's using her body, right? You know, that's, you know, we would frown upon that in the pretentious classical music world because, you know, it's not uniform and concrete, but it's almost like whenever she sings the word again, it's like this exuberance of self-confidence, and it's beautiful. It's like, yeah, it's like she's like, you're shaking it in the face of the haters, right? You're like, I'm going to do all these things, even though you took this away from me by creating these negative experiences in my life, consciously or not, doesn't matter. I'm here. I'm this person. I'm powerful, and I'm gonna do this again, because I'm not gonna let those dark times have influence over me. And she's so absolutely like, she's like intimidating and yet so friendly at the same time. I want to like get to know her. Awesome.
The darkness, and you were asleep, and I wasn't checking my phone for a moment, and I felt.
What'd you feel? Probably really good. You know those moments when you just don't check your phone? And have you ever gone like without a phone for a weekend? Oh, this is the next video. You ever gone without your phone for a weekend and just feel so amazing because you're not subjecting yourself to the comparisons of the world, and you're not dealing with people who seem to benefit or seem to enjoy making your life incredibly frustrating, right? There is a beauty in every single scenario that she framed for us in that piece. What an awesome, dipping yourself in a 4.5-minute song that has that power. It's so special. It's so special. Rune, thank you so much for sharing that. Your taste in music, you are someone, I know you've described yourself as someone who enjoys the feeling and seeing the world through music. And it has led to some amazing requests of very nuclear performances and incredibly touching moments in live music that it just always brings so much joy to me, and I really appreciate that. I know everyone else who watches does as well, so thank you. I'll see you guys in the next one.